peeing my pants. I'm like, dude, what did I do to piss Mama K off? Like, this is not the conversation.
You just run over and give her a hug. Hey, how's it going?
I'm like literally like walking, like I felt like I was on death row going to the electric chair or something. Like,
whoa. Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Lambo and Leroy Show. Today, we got Jim Beaver and Brittney from the Jim Beaver Show. Welcome to the show, you guys.
well, I'm stoked to be here, man. I'm just honestly, my first question is when you guys launch a show, like we're all friends, but I'm like, how did you guys get linked up and how did this thing happen? Because
we've been friends. I mean, we're going back probably what 15
probably 15
years,
yeah.
if not even more. When it was Attain Media
back then.
And I'm not even sure how we got connected at the time, but we did a lot together back in the day. Like when YouTube and social media was coming out, and when everyone was talking like content's king, and being
like the very beginning, like 15-second Instagram video, stuff like that.
Like, yeah, and being like an
back in the MySpace days.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
absolutely, like right at the end of that for sure.
Yeah, and being an exhaust company, like we spent so much time trying to figure out how to like record our exhaust, get the sound right. I mean, different mics, different everything. That's why we reached out to Brian, like, dude, I need your help with this stuff.
How do we do this? But same thing. It's like same thing with you guys. It's like the marketing aspect is like you start networking with everyone, and the industry's so tight, man. Yeah. And it's like we met Sean, and ever since then it was just.
Well, it's like we laugh because we've got like this network of friends around the country, and some of them we see once a year, some we see 6 months, but it's always like we're in an area like grab dinner, drink, stay at our house, like, you know what I mean? We got a spare bedroom, but it's just crazy. You have this like in motorsports in this industry, like we have like this amazing just family in the automotive and motorsports industry, and it's like
so cool.
Yeah, it's like, and sometimes you don't talk to somebody for a year, and then you catch up. It's like you brainstorm some idea, and then all of a sudden you're rolling on a project, and you hadn't talked to them in a year, and you know they're a close friend, but it's like close friends in this industry is weird. They can be close, and you still don't talk to them once every year.
That's what's so funny. And that's where this came back up. It was like, all right, let's get back into it. Like, what's still hot right now is like, dude, podcast. And I've been wanting to do it for a while. Like, I had to set up everything to do it. And finally, I was like, Sean, let's do a podcast. And I was like, I want him to do one. I was like, great for marketing for Gibson. Just do a podcast. You can talk to everyone you know. And he's like, well, I want you to do it with me. I'm like, I'm down. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, this is cool.
We both finally said yes to it. Instead of it just being like an idea or us
just talking,
chatting, like, okay, what are we doing this week? And the podcast, I don't know when we could do it. And we kind of move on. We're like, yes. And we're both kind of like, at least for me, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy. Like, I don't know. It's like another job now.
That's
like,
the hardest
where did I get
part,
myself
right?
into?
We all have
Find
these
the
great
time.
ideas, but actually facilitating them is
so tough sometimes. And it's like, sometimes you just got to do it. You just have to do it. Like, it's the hardest part sometimes is actually getting there, making the time, and making it happen.
Yeah.
And now we look forward to it.
Well, and, I'm not that old, guys, but I feel like I've been doing this for a long time. And at a certain point, you kind of get burnt out on things, right? You kind of get burnt out on the repetitiveness of the industry and your day-to-day and the shows, all the same things. And it's actually been really, and powerful and kind of reigniting that fire, having these podcasts, talking down with such awesome people and just really just bullshitting about what we love. And like, it's been really fun. So it's been rad. I mean,
it's interesting, like in this industry, and like our show changed this year after 10, 11 years, but it's like, it got to be monotonous, you know what I mean, after 10, and I hate to say that because I've had some amazing interviews, but we had to change the format of it. But it's like in this industry, you've got to find out ways to keep things fun because this industry will chew you up and spit you out. And it's like, even like with us and all our traveling, it got to the point where it was like a drain. It was monotonous, and we're still doing a ton of traveling, but it was like at one point she goes, we're going to take an extra day every trip and just add it on. Good. And she goes, it's not, and we're going to go explore, we're going to adventure, we're going to do whatever we want.
Or just say yes to people. Sometimes, and that's kind of how this all started, is during the pandemic, nobody had a reason they weren't home, right? Like, it wasn't, I'm out racing, I'm out doing this, I'm at the office. So everybody that was, come out to the ranch, come out here, come to our facility, our compound. And so that literally was a year of, well, we don't have the races, we don't have the trade shows. So let's just take everybody up on their offers.
Yeah.
So now, for the people listening who don't know the show, give a quick little intro. What show are you guys speaking of that you guys are on?
The radio show used to be Down and Dirty, and I've had a podcast with Podcast One called Project Action. So I've had 2 shows for that one about 5-6 years. Down and Dirty's been 11, 12 at this point. It started in 2011. So it was like OG podcast.
Yeah,
and
it
was
funny.
Where Barry started.
It was the podcast, right?
It was the only off-road podcast, like the original.
I don't even think I knew what a podcast was then.
Yeah, well, and that was that's why I called it a radio show, because back then I called it a podcast, and nobody wanted to sponsor a podcast because it was so new. They're like, that's a new
podcast.
Thing. It's like, we're not going to get involved in that. But you call it radio, and it's
now
like,
it's the opposite, right? Now we talk, and everyone's like, are you guys doing your podcast thing? And we're like, well, it's a radio show on Sirius XM too.
They're like, we don't like radio anymore.
No big deal.
They're like, we're like, it's on Sirius XM, 200 AM FM networks. It's on, U.S. American Forces Network, and we're like 177 countries, or whatever. And people are like, really? And they're like, we just thought it was a podcast. But so it's like gone full circle,
Of course.
That started out just as like, just me doing off-road stuff. And then it steamrolled into, like, I had Ken Block as a guest. Like, I phoned in a massive favor because Ken kind of owed me. And so it was like, when you have an IOU with Ken,
you take advantage of it.
You're a month into a new show, and you can drop Ken Block. It was like
massive.
Immediately we went from here to here.
Did you film it while he was driving in a car, and that's where it was actually happening?
So, I'll still to this day, like every time I've launched a show or had a rebrand or relaunch, like I'll call Ken, and Ken will come on, and it's like that guy behind the scenes has been massively supportive to everything I've done. Cool. It's like he's an awesome friend, and I love his wife to death, and his daughter now is slaying it.
So
you know what
cool,
I mean?
man.
But it's like,
it's cool to see.
But he's been really supportive of what I've done over the years, just behind the scenes. It's just getting Ken on for an interview, is a big deal, because the guy's got people coming out of the woodwork wanting him for everything, But and that was kind of the start of everything. And we went immediately from off-road to, covering some other stuff. We called it Action Motorsports, and now we're just kind of all over the grid and just do automotive and
just whatever's fun, whatever's awesome.
Antron Brown and Steve Torrance, the Top Fuel guys, and Clay Milliken, and I'm just going down the list. Leah.
Pruitt.
Yes. You got me. Yes,
Leah Stewart.
Yeah, Leah Stewart. She's a good friend of mine and or ours. And so, it's been awesome. We've had a good run, but it was like we were doing results, and it was like it was a weekly show, and it was like it wasn't really evergreen. Like a lot of the interviews were tied to what happened the previous weekend.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was like, we're getting this driver for 10 minutes, this driver for 10 minutes. You're doing 3 or 4 10-minute interviews a show, and it's like I want to do longer form stuff, but I'm like, we have the Sirius XM agreement, so we have to do we have to fit things. So, and then all these dirt and dirty shows came out. I was like, it's time for a rebrand. And I was like, when you put your name on something, I feel like it has to mean something. You have to earn that. Absolutely. There's so many people that are like, I'm this show, or I'm this, this. And I'm like, to me, I felt like after 11 years.
He's still shy about it. He's still not used to it. So people go, what's the name of your show? And he's like, it's a Jim Beaver show.
But
everyone knows you for it. So that's massive,
But it was like, honestly, like in the IndyCar and stuff, we'd go there and people didn't refer to it as Down and Dirty. They were like, Jim Beaver's show.
Yeah.
And they referred to it as my show. And I was like, I felt like after a decade of doing it, it was like, okay, I earned my name being on the show.
Absolutely.
So General Tire supported it. All of our partners supported it. So we did that. And, so, a lot of it now is we do like one major interview a week, and we talk to them for, the first hour of the show. And then the second hour is talking about kind of current events. We've been talking a lot about the F1 race in Vegas coming up. And
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I think everybody's stoked on that.
Yeah, I want to book my tickets right now. Like, I want to book my rooms, everything. That seems like it's going to be an epic weekend.
I was like, I feel like none of us are going to be able to afford it, so we all need to get like a suite together.
Right now, right
now. Start pitching in that $50,000.
Because it's going to be, it's like literally, I think we all need to throw in a couple grand a piece, and we might be able to make this.
Yeah, we're not exactly sure what day it's going to be, so we're going to book a whole month in October, and then we're going to cancel the ones we don't need.
Problem is, I think everybody's got that same idea already.
They do. It's already
I've already planned.
It's going to be crazy.
But we have to go this year because we all know the logistics.
Oh, I know.
And the chaos that it's going to happen on shutting down the strip at that capacity for 3 days.
Insane.
Even though they have a 2-year contract, it's not going to be at the same level it is year 2.
It's going to be wild. I'm super pumped for it.
Yeah, they're doing it on a Saturday night. Starts at 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, this is.
Wait, it starts at 10 o'clock at night?
Yeah. Because in Europe on Sunday, it'll be morning.
Oh, okay.
So
because they don't have anyone that's picked it up. It's so hard to watch on TV here in the States unless you're recording it all the time.
It's
you can't
always
watch
early
it live,
morning or like middle of the night.
Yeah, I catch the few at 6 in the morning, but this weekend it was like at 4 in the morning. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to see that.
I can do 6 a.m. The 4 a.m. ones are all tough for me.
It's like I wanted to go to Miami this year, and we started looking at ticket prices, and we're like, we're not going to Miami.
Unreal. I was talking to I was in Vegas last week, and I had dinner with someone, and he's actually one of the city. He's in charge of pretty much all the events in the city. And he was saying they're repaving the strip 16 inches down for it. So the whole track is being repaved 16 inches down, which is unreal.
Why?
Because you have to have the perfect concrete. It has to be a certain kind of concrete for it, and it's got to be certain depth. It has to withstand certain heat from the tires, everything. And they said that it will last 4 years, and they have to redo it again.
Because I think with the downforce that Formula One cars put down, like
it'll so actually move it.
It's so much pressure.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that you know what I mean. They have to have certain standards with the the concrete,
and let alone how low the cars are too off the ground.
Yeah, it's got to be perfect. You can't have imperfections.
No, there's no imperfections or anything.
Well, and it's even like in cities when they do that, like sewer caps. The funny thing is there's so much downforce, they go and they weld the sewer caps down.
Because it'll pull
Because if a car goes over it, the sewer cap will just go straight up in the air.
Can you imagine?
It's literally like shaking a champagne bottle and popping the cork, So it's like
I'm just picturing the streets and
and
like
Ninja Turtles flying out.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that too. Ninja Turtles popping out.
Donatello and Raphael right there.
Some pizzas. It's going to be crazy. That's going to be a sick event, though.
Well, so it sounds like you guys have had opportunities to do tons of awesome things, meet awesome people. There's got to be some highlight moments that is brought to you. What would you say are like some of your top 3 moments?
Last couple of years, man, we've got funny stories behind the scenes. I mean, and that's what, the second hour of our show, a lot of it's just our adventures and our travels and, and things like that. I mean, recently, last year we went to Pastrana Land and spent a few days at Pastrana Land.
So cool.
I can't imagine that not being epic.
Yeah, it was amazing, and it's one of those. It was a bucket list for both of us, and we went and hung out there for a few days and did a bunch of. Honestly, we rode pit bikes for 2 days straight.
Did you guys ever ride anything into the foam pit?
We jumped into the foam pit. They've got they got a thing where you climb up. They've got the big foam pit now; it's closed off, but they've got another foam pit inside that's smaller. But they've got this thing where you climb up, and there's you literally jump off the roof into this foam pit. But
wow!
Did you ever ride anything into a foam pit?
It's a lot more intimidating once you get there.
That's what I was gonna say. Sure. Once you see the big jump, the big everything, you start realizing that it's you still have to land in the foam.
Yeah. I've done foam pits before. Like when I used to BMX, I learned backflips into foam pits and things like that. Wow. So I've done a lot of jumping into foam pits. I haven't backflipped one of their 110s, which I was kind of bummed, but everything was closed off. You know what I mean? So they've got a big slider on the one outside, and it's kind of actually a process to get that thing
I'm sure it's a lot of work.
Now, is this his home?
Used to be. So he had a house, and then they had Pastrana Land. And the house, he actually just sold that recently. I think last year. He just sold the house. So they literally cut out this quarter acre out of the property, sold the house, and then he still owns Pastrana Land, which is there. But he
all the property that's there still.
Yeah. I think the original house was kind of the party house and things like that, and it's now he's got kids and
And the wife's like, we're not living in this house anymore.
I think they wanted a proper proper house. So I think they live about 15 minutes away now.
Nice.
But Pastrana Land's still there. They've got an apartment. Hubert lives there on the property most of the time and stuff like that. So there is an apartment there, and they've got a bunkhouse. So if people get too rowdy and they party a little too much, they can crash.
Stay in the bunkhouse.
Yeah.
As if you could sleep, or it would be safe to sleep there. I would be afraid to shut my eyes.
Yeah,
staying there
so much.
It's actually rad. So all the property owners, because we went on a dirt bike ride, and we did miles that day on the 110s, but
because we were trying to figure out how much was actually his area, and it's his actual property. It's big for the area. But what you see and what's out there,
because 5 or 6 property owners, they all their properties butt up together.
Okay,
and they all are power sports enthusiasts.
No way.
And so they have
That's cool.
So they've got between the 5 properties 50 acres. And so they have a trail system that zigzags back and forth across the properties.
That's
so
sick.
And all the owners have signed off on it. So
everyone's cool with it.
Everyone's cool with it. So because everybody uses each other's property. So literally in the middle of all the properties It's out in the forest. You can't even see it. I don't even think you can access it from the main road. You have to go through one of the properties. They built a full-on supercross track out there.
That's awesome.
And so, because so it's rad. Like Pastrana and all of the people around there, they all are power sports, dirt bike people, UTV people. So
rad.
They've just got some rad stuff going on there. And it's like, and I think it's one of those, all the property owners are friends. And it's like, all right, if one of us ever want to sell, the rest of us have to buy the other guy out.
Absolutely, for sure. Fair enough.
Exactly.
I mean, it makes sense. And they're in Maryland, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was cool. But that was fun. I mean, we went downtown Maryland with Street Bike Tommy and had some stories there.
Mayor Tommy P.
Mayor Tommy P. And recently her and I were in New York City and met, I think, the Irish mob.
All right.
We still haven't confirmed nor denied.
Yeah.
But we have a thing for Irish bars because we always feel at home when we go to Irish bars for some odd reason. And
because we like to shit talk, that's why.
Makes sense.
But we always end up after hours at Irish bars. They throw everybody out. And for some odd reason, Britt and I are welcome to stay because I think we talk enough
That's
shit.
what I'm saying. Because we literally walked in and immediately, like, the banter back and forth between this bartender and I, it was like we knew each other for 20 years.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think she asked a question about Crown Royal. He's like, oh, that's shit whiskey or something. You know what I mean? Like,
he made me some god-awful fruity drink, and I'm like, I can't do this. Can I have a beer,
this.
please? And he's like, all right.
So bars
You're in.
Yeah, bars in NYC, like based on how old they are, they stay open at certain times.
Yeah,
so this one was open till this one was open till 4 a.m.
Damn.
So we were there till like 4 a.m. and he goes, his name was Fish. And so he goes, there's another Irish bar over here, like, a couple city blocks away. He goes, meet me there at 4 o'clock tomorrow. And he goes, I need to introduce you to my friend Frog. And
Fish and Frog, right?
Fish and Frog, and so we end up in this place.
That's legit, right?
No, for sure.
We end up at this other bar, and there's Frog here. You know what I mean? We're meeting Fish and Frog, and they're telling us all these stories. We'll come to find out Frog owns like a couple of Irish bars in Manhattan.
Nice.
And so we start talking. So, anyways, these guys are hilarious. So we bring out our podcast equipment, we drop it down in the middle of this bar in Manhattan, and we just start interviewing these guys that we just met. And they're telling us all these crazy
but not
stories.
Realizing how drunk they actually
were.
Couldn't really use any of it, but it was awesome at the moment.
So it's like 25 minutes long. You can only understand half of them.
Nice.
But it was batshit crazy. So we get done, and Britt and I are like, I don't know what we're gonna do with this. So I go and I start listening, and I start editing, and I'm like, yeah. And she's like, we just need to can it, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna drop it in the feed, and I'm gonna see what happens.
Yeah.
And this is literally, it's nothing motorsports related, nothing. It's just literally her, me, and
I don't know that
Irishmen.
there's anything legal even on it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we literally
it's all incriminating.
we drop it in the feed, and I'm like, we're not posting to social.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're not
It's
doing
just there.
any publicity. We're just gonna see what happens. And I literally text the file to the two Irishmen.
Yeah.
So we wait like 2 weeks. This thing goes like viral. And I think every Irish person in Manhattan listened to this show, and it's it's the most bonkers 25 minutes you'll ever listen to.
We didn't even sign off. Like, it literally trailed off so bad, we just stopped doing it.
All right, we're done.
Yeah,
So what are you guys gonna? So what are you gonna do about the Cadillac Eldorado that just follows you everywhere?
I need to write down everyone.
No, we got homies now.
Now you're safe, actually.
No, we've got a group text with these two guys, and we randomly get
That is
pictures from
amazing.
like concerts in New York City. When are you guys coming back and things like that?
So good. That's the best feeling, though.
So there's fun stuff. I mean, we went wine tasting in Washington State after we were at Dirtfish for a couple days and had some stuff up there. And so we carved out a day and we went wine tasting. We met a wine owner, Adam's Bench. Well, his parents own the winery.
Nice.
And he's their son. And I don't know,
He said he wasn't. I asked him, I'm like, is there any way we can go down and take a little tour of the process?
Yeah.
Because normally, there's certain wine. When you go on a wine tour or whatever, you get to go see the process.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the cool stuff. The machinery.
Absolutely.
The barrels, all that.
The feet stomping on the grapes.
He's a little old school. I don't know if they do that anymore.
Shoot.
Sorry, Sean.
He does it for fun.
Yeah, he does exactly. He likes the feeling between his toes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole foot thing is coming back. So.
It is.
For some, yeah. I mean,
For some.
We know about your OnlyFans.
He is. It's only toes and grapes.
Toes and grapes. Going to be Sean in his recliner.
Hey, money is money.
I would do it in a heartbeat if it would sell. Yeah.
Money is money.
Well,
maybe we should try it.
The other day, she's like, I need to, we were literally at Expo. She goes, I'm going to stay in the room. You go down there. She goes, I'm going to send out some invoice. We need to get some cash flow. And I was like, yeah, you better do that. Or I was like, I'm going to have to start a OnlyFans. But like me and the dogs, and I like, we'll have my feet and the dog's feet next to each other.
We should have like a challenge like that. We all start our OnlyFans.
And see who does best.
But you have to like have one like all you're doing is like maybe like getting your hair washed or something like that.
No. It'll be like, I like Damon's whole idea. He says, I'm going to create what's called a no fans. Yeah. It's Damon from Rigid.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to create a no fans. And if people owe me money or they're pissing me off or they don't pay me, he goes, I'm just going to be naked, like helicoptering and doing all this other stuff.
Just start sending him text
and
messages
I won't stop until they pay me.
And
it's going to be called no fans.
You get paid really quickly at that point.
Especially Damon. They're like, please
stop. Speaking about Dirtfish, man, what is Dirtfish? You've been with Dirtfish for a long time. I mean, what's the whole situation with Dirtfish?
Almost a decade. So they're a rally school based in Washington. The owner, Steve Rimmer, is an amazing guy. He's in the aviation industry.
Cool.
He's from the UK originally. And he was just growing up in the UK. He was a massive rally fan. Everybody in the UK is. And so he moved over here.
Because it's freaking rad.
He goes, I was never good enough to be a rally driver, but now that he's made a substantial amount of money in the aviation industry, he started a rally school, mainly so he could just go and drive rally cars. But he's got this amazing rally car collection. But the culture they've built there, actually, Dirtfish has probably kept stage rally in the United States afloat the last 5 years.
Wow.
Because they invest. Now they've literally the series, the American Rally Association, ARA, they've invested a lot of money just to keep it going and keeping rallies. And it's crazy. Rallies, it's, you go and there's 75, 80 cars that show up. It's not like you got 3 or 4. Everybody sees Pastrana and Block and Seminuk and those guys. But, it's just like off-road. I mean, you've got like the 1450s and stuff like that. Like there's
so many other classes too.
Yeah, there's a bunch of other classes. You've got like 5-6 top guys, but then you've got 70 more that are just, $3,000 home built rally cars and stuff like that.
Having more fun than probably anyone.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So Dirtfish has done a lot. They've got a media company now that produces some content, and they've got some staff writers, and and it's all about kind of stage rally internationally.
So now, like, can anyone go and like sign up for this school? Or
that's the thing. Like Brittney's going up. We're going up there in December. They have Women's Days, so she's going to go up there, and I'm just going to hang out, and we'll probably do a show.
So everybody stays away on those days. Like, like whoa, watch out!
Hey there.
They laugh because they've had literally 90-year-old ladies that have never driven a stick shift come to Dirtfish, and at the end of the thing, they're sliding cars around. And
don't talk about Autumn that way.
Yeah, Autumn that used to work for you.
Yeah.
We took her up there to our sponsor summit, and she'd never driven a stick shift. Nothing. It was funny.
I remember she told me about
I was like,
that.
there's no better place to learn. And literally by the second stage, I was sitting there like falling apart wanting to punch stuff.
Yeah.
Because for me, it was such a humbling experience because they literally have to strip it down to the basics, and you don't realize how difficult rally actually is, especially with all-wheel drive. And he's like, we could have done the 2-wheel drive courses. He's like, you would have had fun, but he's like, I wanted it to be a challenge and do something different. Cool, so he more or less set me up. We went out on the first skid pad,
me at the end of the day.
and I was like, I'm done, I'm out. And so like Autumn's sitting there like learning how to drive a stick, and then she's already like way up here. I'm still down here fighting, and like finally I learned to like let go and restart from the basics.
Yeah.
Well, they're race cars too. They're probably got strong tilt and clutches, everything. It's all or go. It's not like you slip it. You just gotta be
none
aggressive.
Of that's the problem. It's you're used to how you're shifting.
Yeah.
You're used to shifting the opposite way. You're used to turning around corners and expecting a car to be coming from the other side. And they're like, you need to go outside in. I'm not used to going around a blind corner outside in.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, it's staged, but we don't want you going off the cliff. We want you sliding in. Thumbs, you're supposed to lock in the steering wheel. You always get taught off-road, thumbs out. Like, you don't want to break your thumb.
Rip your
so
thumb off.
it's like all those little things, they had to completely break you down. You drive with, you shift with your left, right?
Yeah.
I always still get backwards.
Well, you drive with your feet more in rally than you do really.
But it's opposite.
Rally, stage rally, you steer with a brake. But there's
they have the handbrakes too, right?
Yeah, but they don't even like you to use that. They like you to be able.
They want you to do it all with the steering wheel. Steering is only 20% max. The steering wheel is just suggestive. It's all with throttle control.
Accelerator and the brake, but. Yeah, I love going up there, and I go up there, last year we were up there 3 times, I think. But
nice.
For training, because they strip you down, and it's like they've had trophy truck guys go up there and literally just cuss. Like, literally, I'm never coming back. You don't know how, whatever. And they're just frustrated because they have so many bad habits.
Different.
No, but but you're going back.
Were you one of them?
When I first started, it was. I mean, I've been going up there for almost a decade now, so I've got it, quite figured out. But it's like it is humbling because trophy trucks. You can be a very bad driver and still be fast.
Yeah.
Because you've got all this horsepower, all this suspension travel, all this braking.
Yeah.
Like, you can have some really bad habits and still be hella fast in the desert. Stage rally, you can't do that. And you've also got trees lining the sides.
No
and
room
stuff
for
like
error.
The precision in rally, is so crazy next level, and that's, trophy truck guys, just you can be very sloppy and it doesn't really cost you
can go off the
any
course
time.
and run over bushes and it's fine.
Yeah, and it's like we see all these exciting videos that are on Instagram and stuff like that. And you look and like when you break it down, it was actually just
a mistake.
It was a mistake. He was being a bad driver. Bad drivers make really good videos, though.
Yeah, true, very true.
But it's you watch it. You watch Rob Mack. He's never exciting.
No,
that's a good thing.
That's true. It's very boring. Yeah,
it's very
he's
boring.
not
Not big, but he's fast.
No, it's funny. You've never seen Rob Mack go viral. It's because Rob Mack is ridiculously precise.
Yeah, he is just smooth everything.
Yeah, and
he's the opposite of Robbie, right?
Yeah, and then you do have guys
true.
like Robbie who've figured out how to make the chaos work for him.
Yeah.
Kyle LeDuc's another one. Kyle's just he's so exuberant, and you look and you're like, how is Kyle LeDuc the fastest qualifier here? Because he's so just everything's this way, that
going
way.
backwards.
But they're working
backwards.
twice as hard, right?
Yeah.
They're faster, but they're working twice as hard as somebody that's marginally right there.
Just smooth
and smooth. Because
cruising.
we had Mia, who's Red Bull athlete.
Yeah.
She was up there with us, and she'd go and just look boring, like she was just driving down the
so
road,
fast.
and her times were quicker than anybody else's.
That's awesome, though. That's precise, man. Being precise and smooth.
But it's fun. It's worth it if you haven't been up there. It's absolutely worth going. It's awesome. They got 1, 2, and 3 day classes, but I think whether you race or not, it's a good time.
It feels
It's cool to
home.
go.
It's so serene when you get out there, and it's just kind of the way they've got it isolated, and the small town
Cool
around
location.
it. I feel like I'm home.
So that obviously gives a lot of people opportunities to get into a rally car, do something different they haven't done. But you were also doing stuff like that back in a few years ago with some celebrities, and you had a celebrity car where you had people you would not expect racing an off-road car at the Parker Enduro or Parker
Vegas Reno.
You want the truth of that whole program. That was funny. So that's when I was with Polaris, and Craig Scanlon and Jason DeFucia were there, and I kept going, and I already had a contract with Polaris at the time. It was for radio, and I was an ambassador. I was doing influencer stuff, and I kept going, hey, trophy truck, I'm getting priced out. I want to race a UTV. And I kept going to Scanlon and DeFucia, hey, I want to race a UTV. And they're like, we've got plenty of racers. And they did. They were completely right. They're like, you got to come with something better. Come with something better. If you want to race, you got to come with something better. Give us something
different.
So I was like, I've got this radio show and we interview celebrities all the time. I'm like, all right. So I go to them. I was like, we need a meeting in Minnesota. They're like, all right. So I come back and they're like, sit down in Craig's office, and we're all sitting there, and they're like, what do you got? I was like, Razor Star car. Look at me like, all right. Well, so tell us about this. I'm like, all right. So we're going to build a race car, and I couldn't afford to build a race car at the time. And I was like, so we're going to build a race car, and Polaris is going to pay for this race car. And I was like, but what we're going to do is we're going to get all these celebrities to come and race with me. So half the race will be them, half the race will be me. And I was like, but even better, I was like, we need women. And I was like, Jolene Van Vute's one of my best friends. I'm like, so Jolene and I will be every single race in there, and then we'll get a different celebrity. And they all looked, and I'm like, and we're going to film it, and we're going to do all this, and it'll be great, and we'll get all these celebrities and racers.
That's
and
awesome.
I see them both light up. They're like, this is genius. Yes, let's do it. So that was how I got my first Razor race car, because I couldn't afford one, but we got Polaris to build it.
That is cool, man.
But no, it was amazing. We had Tanner Faust come in. And I look at the people that are still now in side-by-sides because of it. Tanner, that was the first time he was ever in a side-by-side. Tanner now is an ambassador for Polaris.
Yeah.
Jolene had kind of dabbled in, and now she's involved. Dax Shepard, we had Dax in the car with us at one point. Pastrana came in. That was a freaking riot having Trav in the car.
Rad. Did you like Bucky Lassick? I mean, who else did you have? You had
Bucky and our friends. He was one that we wanted to get in, and we just never were able to set it up. We had Antron Brown and Steve Torrance, the top fuel drivers.
Nice.
Wow.
They came in. Just trying to think. We did one media ride where we got people from ESPN and a bunch of other television networks. They came in and rode with us, and did stories. I remember one of the highlights was we had, obviously with Pastrana, we had Car Throttle come over from the UK and did this whole thing. When we had Antron and Steve Torrance, NHRA actually brought their film crew from Fox.
Nice, man.
And they did a thing, and then literally I'm watching Sunday. Like, we had the race Saturday at the Mint, and Sunday, NHRA, they're airing or the next Sunday, because it was in Vegas or something, they're literally airing like this 5-minute clip on these guys on Fox. And I'm like, it was an awesome program for the 2 years.
It was surreal.
It was.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you can answer this or not, but who was the best out of the box?
Who was the best driver?
Yeah. And that may not be the person who had the best finish, but who would you say just took to that
Jump right in and went?
The best?
Obviously, Trav can drive anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Tanner can drive anything.
Who was the most
How like
surprising?
Antron do? I mean, those guys go
I would
for
say
3 seconds.
Usually.
I
think the biggest surprise, let's put the hardest, it's hard to say who is the best.
Yeah.
Because we even, like, a year later during pandemic, we did our own star car even after the thing, and we got Steve Arpin, who used to do NASCAR.
Yep.
Arpin came out, and he was phenomenal. But I think the biggest surprise was probably Antron and Steve.
That's cool.
Steve, who he just drives straight line. Antron has a motocross background. People don't realize, like,
Antron.
No, so Antron still this day, him and Bubba Stewart and Malcolm Stewart are like best friends.
Really?
And so, like, Antron goes and they've got their own track. Stewart's got his own track.
Yeah.
Antron literally a couple times a month goes and rides dirt bikes with Bubba Stewart.
What a
See,
cool
I thought
deal,
like sponsors
man.
of like Antron and stuff be like, no, you cannot go ride dirt bikes.
I don't know that we.
You gotta be in a top fuel car.
It's in off season. I mean,
No, he owns his own team now, so Antron's his own boss.
Yes,
so
sure, he's his own boss. Yeah, he's good now.
Yeah, he's good
he's
now.
Not getting in trouble.
But Antron, like, that guy, it's actually pretty amazing how talented he is, and I think a lot of it goes back to his motocross background, because he did that, and then he transitioned into pro stock bike and now top fuel and all that. But people don't realize, like, his background is in the dirt on a dirt bike.
He's an amazing dude, too. He's a really cool dude, and he's very good at his marketing, his sponsorships, everything. He's so good at that stuff.
It's just authentic.
He's authentic. He's so
real. You meet
real.
him one time, and it's one of those things you'll run into him a year later.
Yep.
And it was just like, Brittney, how are you? How are things going?
So cool.
But he's not
That's
just
rad.
putting on a face. Like,
No,
he
he's
really
real.
is so excited
He's
to see
so
you.
real.
And one of my coolest stories, talk about marketing. I'm like, this guy, like, he knows his marketing, knows how to represent sponsors. It's like he's been with Matco forever, right? So, he'll tell the story. He goes, I didn't know a whole lot about, Matco tools, stuff like that. I got that sponsorship. And he goes, first request was, I want to go. He goes, when somebody takes out a franchisee, gets a truck, what do they have to go through? And they go, well, they go to training for a week and stuff like that. And Antron goes, I want to go to Matco school. They're like, why? And he goes, I want to be put through the same thing that a new guy buying a truck has.
That's cool.
So Antron went to Matco school for a week to learn how to sell and learn all about the product. And he goes,
Genius.
so that way when somebody asks me about the tools or whatever, he goes, I have the same tools, no
knowledge.
is somebody that, runs a truck. So I can answer the questions. He goes, it's not fake.
Man. That's
and I'm like, that's a guy that legitimately knows how to be,
That's rad.
It's authentic, though.
Yeah.
That's
he's
exactly
real.
that.
He's so real.
Yeah.
As if he's representing or he's got a sponsor, like he 100% is using that same stuff at home.
I'm curious. I wonder a question for him would be, what is more wild, riding one of the pro stock bikes or a top fuel car? I can't imagine. I mean, the bikes
unreal.
are just insane, like what they're doing now.
And like in the car, you're inside. On the bike, you're holding on top.
Yeah.
Like, it's unreal.
I'm sure it's a completely different feeling, but
We did ask him. I asked him about a year or so ago, like, pro stock bike. I was like, would you ever want to go back and do it? And he goes, oh, hell yeah. And I thought it was going to be a hell no.
Yeah.
And he literally said, he goes, before I retire, he goes, I want to do one more race, like, on a pro stock bike, like, come out of
Sick.
retirement and do it just to
is
do it.
awesome.
You know what I mean? Because he's like, no, he goes,
Might
it's
as
a
well.
completely different feel. And
That
I
is
don't know.
rad.
Drag racing's crazy because it's actually, her and I were watching it the other day in the hotel room, and it's like, it's boring as hell to watch on TV.
Yeah.
But it's like when you're actually there and stuff like that, or you watch the
that
in-car.
feeling
like,
you get.
Oh, when you
dude.
cry.
yeah,
It's
your eyes are
unreal.
melting, you
You're-
get that hit. But, but you watch the in-car, and these guys for 3 seconds literally are just steering the shit out of the car. And it's like you're watching, and they're going lock to lock.
And
to
they
keep
don't.
that thing.
They have this much steering too. Like, all those front tires with this much steering.
When
They're
you're
like,
ever like in Pomona and you ever are like in a suite behind them taking off, when you're on the side, it looks like they're just straight as an arrow.
Oh,
and
no,
when you're
they're-
behind them, they're driving that thing at 300 miles an hour.
Their reaction time is just out of control. But
It's nuts.
it was funny, though, because I told him, I'm like, these guys are going to be so bored, right, on a different pace because the level they're used to, and we're putting them in a UTV.
yeah.
I'm like, it'll be fun for them. It'll be a novelty. Like, I wasn't expecting. And these two were like giggling school kids the whole time.
Because it's so
They
fun.
get out of the car and they're like, we had so much fun. This is so awesome. And I'm like, really? Like, the adrenaline you're used to. Like, this. And they're like,
it's a different kind of
we get
adrenaline.
to go for 3 seconds. They're like, we got to ride for 30 minutes straight.
Yeah, that was
it. Was
like
insane.
we did more at the Mint 400 than we've done in our whole careers.
Honestly,
no, literally they said that. They're like, we've done more time in a race car at the Mint than we did in our whole careers.
Yeah, one race.
Yeah, it was funny after that. So we go out to it was one of the NHRA events after that, and Steve Torrance's mom, her name's Mama Kay. And, she's, quote, the owner of their Top Fuel team and stuff. And they have one of the biggest contracting companies in Texas. And she's every bit the Texas woman that you would think. You know what I mean? You see a movie, like, she is that person. Rad. And she's an absolute sweetheart. But, like, people, you just don't screw with Mama Kay. People know that. Like, you don't screw with her. She's boss lady.
Texas boss when everybody stands up straight and makes room, and you're like, oh, Mama Kay's coming.
Yeah, and legitimately, you screwed with her. She'd probably pull a revolver out of her bra and like what? She's
say it again.
Yeah, you don't screw with Mama Kay, and she commands respect, and she's one of the nicest women you'll ever meet. So I show up to the first NHRA race after this, and they invited me out and stuff like that. And like the whole team's like, "Hey, Jimmy, this and that," and hugs, high fives, and like Mama Kay's back in hospitality.
Yeah.
And she looks, and she looks, and as I walk in, and she looks, she goes, "Mr. Beaver." She points at me. She gets the finger. It goes like that. Uh-oh. Literally everybody on the team, Steve, everybody's just like faces drop, like, "Oh shit, what did Jimmy
what happened?"
do?" I'm like, I'm peeing my pants. I'm like, dude, what did I do to piss Mama Kay off? This is not the conversation.
You just run over and give her a hug. Hey, how's it going?
I'm like literally like walking, like I felt like I was on death row going to the electric chair or something. Like literally, I'm like walking over there and I sit down, or I like walk up the table and she goes, "Sit." I sit, and I'm like, literally the entire team, it's crickets.
She's gonna bring the paddle out, and
I'm sitting there and I'm looking, and she goes, "We have to have a talk." I'm like, "You took my boy Steve, and you did this off-road thing." She goes, "That's a problem." She goes, "Look around." I look around, and she goes, "All of this is very expensive." And she goes, "All my boy Steve can talk about now is off-roading." She goes, "We don't need another hobby." And I look at her and she goes, "He had a blast," and she broke that character, and everybody started laughing, and she's like, "No, he had a blast. Thank you for having him out. That's all he could talk about." But it was like literally she put on the show, like and everybody on the team, nobody knew what was coming. I was like,
and then she went like this, and everybody got quiet.
It was literally like, no. And the woman, I love her to death. Even to this day, like Britt and I were in the bar the other day, and they have Stoli Elite, and it's like $90 bottle of vodka, and that's Mama Kay vodka. That's all she'll drink. So anytime we're anywhere, we text them like, "Hey, Mama Kay vodka.
We got your vodka."
Yeah, because you don't see it very often in bars and things
like
that.
Well, Steve's got his whiskey bar in his house, and
Nice.
it's all whiskey.
Yeah.
And there's just one
Bottle
bottle,
vodka.
and there's like 6 of them in a row. And he's like, "Nope, we have to keep it stocked just for when she comes over."
That's only fair. It's only fair.
So, real quick too, I know we're probably getting close on time, right? Oh, we're good. Yeah. Okay, cool. Because I want to hear about your guys' background. Like, who are you guys? Where'd you guys come from?
I will give mine, and then
let's see. There was a mom and a dad.
Well, okay, perfect. And how? So next, where'd it go from there?
Yeah. So Jim, your grandpa was hydroboat racer.
Yeah, he's in the Boat Racing Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
he was a hydroplane racer. He's still got world records to this day.
Sick. Which I think is one of the. I love boat racing, and that is one of the
especially hydroboat
baddest boat racing forms there is.
So yeah, he raced for years. I mean, one of the most accomplished boat racers of all time. My dad was actually training to be a boat racer, and my grandpa had kind of aged out of boat racing at that time, and my dad was training, and my grandpa had other boat drivers. And boat racing is, dude, it's so dangerous. Yeah. Even to this day, it's dangerous. They made auto racing safer. Boat racing has not got safer. It has got safer.
Well, they got better life jackets, and now they wear better helmets.
You mix in water, but they were at a race, and one of my grandpa's boat drivers ended up crashing and dying. And he just walked up and looked at my dad and said, "You know what I mean?" He actually he goes, "We're out of boat racing." He goes, "Sorry, you're not doing this." Like, he just didn't want to risk it. He'd seen too many friends die, and and then he had one of his drivers die. And then he just looked at my dad, and he's like, "You're not doing this." So
like, I can't deal with you guys.
Literally, this is like the infancy off-road, early 70s, and my dad. So my dad, he was in college, and some guy, the Parker 400 was going on, and had some truck, and he drove it cross country from like Oklahoma to Parker, did the race, and the third member blew up. So the guy literally was like, he has it towed to the dealership on the Monday after the Parker 400 and told my grandpa, he goes, hey, I'm supposed to drive this back home. And, this is his race truck. And he's supposed to drive this back home, but he goes, doesn't have a third member. And he goes, can you fix it? And he goes, I'll fly in next month. And he goes, I'll fly in next month. And he goes, I'll pay the bill then. And he goes, I'll drive it back. My grandpa goes, oh, fair enough. You know what I mean? Guy left and whatever. My grandpa tries to call him, whatever. Year goes by, truck's sitting there fixed, and guy can't get a hold of guy, can't anything. So he calls my dad, and he goes, hey. He goes, my dad was in MAU and Flagstaff. He goes, I got a truck for you to race in the Parker 400. And it was been sitting at the Ford dealership for a year. So they enter it. My dad didn't know what he was doing, and I think they broke down like first lap or something like that. But that was like how my family got started into off-road.
Nice.
And there was like a 2-3 year window between boat racing and off-road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's how, and so I grew up around it in the 80s and, and things like that. And then when I turned like 18, I started racing and stuff like that. And,
you were born and raised in Parker?
Yeah.
How awesome is that, too?
Yeah.
I mean, Parker's that whole area's from the 80s to where it's at
so
now.
Like,
it's awesome.
Boating, off-roading, everything.
It's like Havasu. Like Parker and Havasu are phenomenal. If you're a power sports or an outdoors person, off-roading and boating and jet skiing and water, it's so awesome.
I can imagine being a kid growing up out there, just having the desert be your background or your backyard. Like
that was me. Like I was on quads and dirt bikes from the time first time I can remember. Like 4 or 5 years old.
Whole
things
life.
like that. Or pre-running with dad and stuff like that. So I've been around it forever. But yeah, that's how that all got started. And then I got to a point where I went to Ford school and things like that, and it just wasn't for me. And started a little podcast online, and then it kind of blew up into what her and I have now.
A little radio show.
A little radio show that turned into a company with TV assets and consulting agreements and and everything else we're doing, and
esports franchise. Like we have our own esports franchise.
We got a contract with NASCAR, which I never would have thought, and things like that. So that's kind of my background. But my dad, it's just my dad and grandpa being around off road and stuff like that. Just kind of how I got involved.
And just
in
being passionate about it, and
just funny because she grew up around off road her entire life too. With her dad racing and stuff like that.
Literally my entire life. So I was born, and my dad was like, "Cool, I'm gonna go race now, and I've got a trophy to prove it."
Yeah.
So he used to race District 37, and then he kind of hit that level where he was borderline pro and had me at home. And to reach that next level, he's sitting there talking to guys like, I'm here, I'm fast as I can be, and you guys are just a little bit faster. Like, how are you reaching that next level? And he's like, well, in order to go faster than you are now in the dust, you got to watch the helmet of the guy in front of you and watch him. And if he goes down, there's something bad out there. And that was kind of what it took to go pro, because he was at that point. And he did that, and then his business, he worked for B&T Industrial as an outside salesperson.
Yeah.
And he was running up and down the street one day, and somebody else that was running District 37 had his bike out. They start talking, and he worked for Boeing, I believe, as an engineer, and he had a little CNC shop in his backyard, so he could just fab up stuff. Right. So they started
What's
making.
District 37?
So all the original like desert races, like the Hare and Hounds, where they're
series.
Yeah.
It's still around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
So they'll do like there's Checkers was part of it, Badgers was part of it, all those desert moto clubs.
Yeah.
Where you see all the pink ribbons in the middle of the desert. Yeah. So I've been out there literally since I think 3 months old. My dad started taking me out to the races.
Nice.
So that's how it was. And then anyway, so my dad met what was his business partner just by going down the street, seeing the bike. They were talking, and they just started making parts together. Then he started a kind of an ISO job shop medical. So they had 25 CNC machines at one point.
Wow. Just 25.
No big deal. So
deal.
they started making these parts, and then also making these little RC car parts on the side, which you guys might now hopefully know is Hardcore Racing Components.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
Which was in every hobby town.
That's awesome.
When the T-Maxes and E-Maxes came out, they made all the crazy billet parts for them.
No way.
Yeah. All the aluminum, titanium, all those theme trucks.
Which is so crazy because the parts are so small too, like so technical.
So that's how we started. This does go full circle. But yeah, so it was just crazy. Like I was sitting there at 12, 13 just dipping and anodizing parts and doing hardware. And we were talking about the first off-road expo. And he's like, I remember going to the first off-road expo. I'm like, me too. I'm like, the big ring at the Fairplex, the big wood ring outside and that track, we built that track. Traxxas and all those guys weren't doing that stuff at the time. Wow. We were like, hey, we have this idea. And they're like, no, we're good with what we're doing. So we built that track, and it was like 300 RC cars we brought to that show, and did all that. And so the joke now on selling shirts, like I was brought in to sell shirts, and somehow I started selling RC car parts and everything else. Awesome. But yeah, so wow. We're doing that. And then when the Rhino first came out, my dad walked into a dealership, saw one, was like, need it. Yeah. We go out to Red Mountain. We're running around, and of course they tipped it like everybody did. Uh-huh. Yep. And so here's point 2 you guys will remember is then they started making those little quarter panel doors, those little kick doors with the swoosh in it. Yep.
Yeah. And they were giving them out because there was a recall because everyone's breaking their feet.
Yeah, but before the recall, they took 2 years. So in those 2 years, we sold thousands and thousands of pallets of those doors.
I had them. Everyone had them. Yeah. It's the simplest little thing.
Yeah.
Just keep your
keep your feet in.
To keep objects inside. We couldn't say feet.
It wasn't for your legs. It was just objects.
But yeah, so we started doing that. And then because they had all the stuff there and the RC market was so big, they were still running that and just making a couple aluminum pieces, dash trims, exhaust tips, things like that. And then they started getting into the Rhino spindles because everybody started.
We all broke them.
Everybody did long travel. We didn't do long travel. We were just building the spindles. Yeah. Because our guy with the aerospace background, and that's where he was like, well, if you take the laser slot and tab and we do this and we box it instead of making it billet, it'll last longer. So he took his aerospace side. They started making those spindles. And then as the RC market about 2007, 2008 started dying, all of our stuff started getting copied in China. Oh, yeah. My dad looks and goes, I'm tired of getting copied. I'm tired of all this stuff. He goes, I'm going to build something so over the top that if anybody's going to get copied, it's going to be our competition over us.
Cool.
So
that's awesome. That's a great way of looking at it too. Like it's gonna be way too expensive for them to even try to copy it.
And it was what we didn't make sense. It was so overbuilt and so over the top. And I mean, fortunately, that's how we built our reputation. So I literally was working at HCR, and the whole way it went from hardcore racing components to HCR was the SKU. So on all of our barcodes, it was an HCR dash whatever. Yeah. And so everybody just started referring to us as HCR.
Nice.
So it still has the crest.
Rad how that works.
Yeah. But our old logo was green and purple with flames in the background.
Wow. Makes sense.
and then now it was just that red and black with the 3 letterings.
Yeah. That's rad.
So it's just pretty funny how you go from, we went from small to big, and everybody else now is going from big to small.
Big, small, yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah, so I did all that. Worked there, like I said, from shipping department, parts, helping. Literally since I was 12, I think, is when that switched over. Wow. So awesome. When we sold the company, I had actually been with HCR longer than I hadn't in my lifetime at that point.
That's cool.
So that was a weird deal. But yeah, so we sold, and then
that's me with Gibson. But
right? No, exactly. You know how that goes.
Still.
Oh, you're just the family. You're just part of it. You're there by default, and they don't realize how involved you actually are and what all you do. But I love it. It's all I've ever known. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of just the industry as a whole, right? Nobody ever leaves. I'm like, don't piss anybody off because you don't know where they're going to end up next.
It's so tight.
Well, and that's what's awesome about, I guess, our industry and everything. It's really driven from a place of passion and just being there. We none of us had a choice, right?
But we could make a lot more money doing pretty much anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
This is Stanford.
I do have a funny story about Gibson because I know, obviously it's family-owned business, things like that. Yeah. Your sister cracked me up. This is one of my favorite stories ever in the industry.
Oh, no.
Everyone's got a Gibson story.
I'm scared.
No, this is actually good, but it shows you how business savvy she is and things like that. So I roll up to SEMA, and, they got all these posters. I'm supposed to do a signing.
Yeah.
So I roll up to SEMA, you know what I mean? And I walk in, and, and here's Summer in, like, the miniskirt or whatever, and she's the booth model. Yeah. And I'm looking, and I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, Summer, why are you doing this? You know what I mean?
Because we're too cheap to hire.
No, legitimately, no. She goes, so we're sitting there, and and she goes, watch this, and this guy walks up and this and that, and he goes, keep in mind, Summer's literally the check signer, right? So my athlete check comes from Summer. Yep. So I'm laughing. So everybody walks up, and they just pass her off as a booth model. They're like, oh, I need to talk to somebody about sponsorship or this and that. I need to talk to somebody, that's in power or whatever. And Summer's just looking and I'm laughing because here's the check sign.
Of course,
she goes, oh, you need to talk to my brother Sean. No, she doesn't say my brother. She just says, Sean. You need to talk to Sean. And she goes, see, I don't have to deal with these people. She goes, I just get to smile. But she goes, the truth behind it is, she goes, this is also saving us a few $100s a day. And she goes, and I just get to pass all these guys off to my brother and I have to deal with them. And I'm like, perfect. I'm like, your sister is genius. I'm saving the company money and giving you all the headaches.
But you also get insight too, because you get to see how people treat you when they don't think that you're anybody.
She did say that. She goes, so people come up and if they're a jerk to me and don't realize that who I am, you know what I mean? She goes, I can later on circle back my brother. We don't want to do it. That guy. Exactly. He's nice to you, but he's a jerk to me. It was actually really funny. But I went, it's like people who didn't know, just she's just some booth model that we signed for a couple $100 a day. Well,
that's what we always would do. Like, okay, so we're gonna save a few $100 here for you doing this, but then we can go have a nice dinner at night.
Exactly.
Instead of like Denny's or something on the corner.
Denny's.
I was just laughing because I need to talk to somebody in power. Little do they know the check signer is
right there.
Yeah. See, I would have to do the opposite because I was so young, even though I was educated and I knew more than pretty much anybody at the company. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter because I was some 18-year-old standing in a booth.
No one trusted.
Nobody took me seriously. Yeah. So I had to hire a stunt cock. So whenever I went to the races and contingency, I had to have a dude in the booth.
Yeah.
And instead of like fighting it and getting frustrated and being like, I'm important, like you see
I can answer your questions. Yeah,
it just never. I learned how to make jokes out of it as I got older.
For sure.
Answer the tech line and I'd be like, all right, $20. I bet you I can answer it. If not, I'll go find somebody.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And they'd be cool. But so I literally had to be like, hey, come out to the races. I'll pay for your hotel, pay for whatever. Just chill. Just be a booth model, right? A stunt cock. And I'm like, that way when somebody shows up, they ask you a question, I can give the answer and start that dialogue. Because if I was like, hey, you have any questions? Gone.
That's insane.
Well, and the respect is earned in this industry. You can't demand it. If you demand it, you get pushed out, and you really just earn it. And you really, it's not hard to earn respect. It just comes from hard work, being real, being original, and just being yourself, and whatever that may be.
Yeah.
But it's like you were talking earlier, how it's like you have your off-road family, and you don't see people for 6 months or so around, and kind of is like that with every aspect of our lives, right? Like you have your Parker family, you have your Southern California family. Yeah. I mean, you have your desert family. Like it's all tied just from relationships, friends, family. I guess that's why we enjoy it because we could be. I mean, like you said, we could be doing a lot of other things to probably make more money, but
we all like to have fun. Though at the end of the day,
we do.
Yeah. We have it in common because we all love to have fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's like us. I mean, you and I are one of my closest friends, and we've been friends for over a decade. But I laugh because it's like, how long have we been trying to schedule a Havasu trip with Britt and I and you and Ginger and Lenny and everybody?
And yet we feel like we're always out there, but yet we can never make it
linked
work.
Up together.
I'm like, literally, we've been trying for at least 2 years now to schedule this Havasu trip. I just laugh, and I'm like, but it's like, it's one of those. I don't need to talk to Sean for 3 or 4 months, but if I text him or something, it's like, bing, dude,
what's going on, dude? Yeah. Exactly. Like, I drive by him probably 5 times a year going to Havasu, yet we can never seem to make it work. And well, it's too hard. I mean, we all have busy schedules too, right? It's like
that's what's tough.
I'm busy till probably the end of the year. I don't know if I have a free weekend. Like I can't. We were talking today. Like our ideas of a low key weekend is just not packing a bag. Like we're still busy. We're still running around doing things, but we just need to pack a bag.
Sleeping in your own bed.
I forgot what that's like.
Well, it's like the amount of projects we've got at Cedar City right now.
Well, and that's the problem because I'm my own house husband and my own housewife and the dog mom and everything else. So it's like when I do get home for a day or two, it's like everything's got to just be. I got a day or two, so I got to unpack to repack to get all the old food out of the fridge and make sure the dogs are good. And
sounds like you need some more gym in your life.
Yeah, but we want to change that for the world. That's the thing. We complain about this stuff all the time, but we absolutely love it.
If you sit at home for 3 days, are you not stir crazy?
No. 2 days, a day.
3 hours. I'm sitting there like, okay, I'm bored. I got to go do something.
No, it is weird. We love and we hate the travel and all that at the same time. But it's like, if we're somewhere for a month at home, it's like it gets weird. It's like her and I. At this point, like we're apart for a week. It's weird. If I'm in Parker and she's in Cedar, I'm like, I got to get up to Cedar. I got to whatever. Yeah. It's just weird. It's just like.
Well, it's all like that type 2 kind of fun. Like, okay, leading up to this the sand show, it's so much work. I hate it. I've done it forever. It's 20 plus years. Same thing over and over again. I'm tired. I'm miserable. miserable, and now I'm sitting here going, man, that was fun. That was awesome. Saw all these cool
That's
people,
his new favorite
saw a
saying,
bunch
too,
of
type 2
stuff,
fun.
everything. That was actually a lot of fun. I hated the moment. But it was
you
a
look
great
back. Show.
And so, I got that same feeling
now
now leading up to see him. I'm going, ugh.
I do love this guy. So her and I run into him in the hall on Sunday, and he's like, he goes, we had a day off. And I'm like, you had a day off, and you go to Off-Road Expo.
Because my wife made the mistake of asking me what I wanted to do today.
She gave him the choice.
I did. I'm like, I want to go walk a show I'm not working at. Like, that's what I want to do.
I want to drink a beer and walk the show.
Yeah.
We're gluttons for punishment.
We do it to ourselves.
Stupid, huh?
We do it to ourselves, but we love it, man.
It is.
Well, that's her and I. Like, we'll have a free weekend. Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. And then somebody will pop up like, oh, you want to come to this event or you want to come hang out here? And her like,
today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Today,
exactly.
literally, today he's like, we finally get to sleep in. This is the first time forever. We'll have a relaxed day in between because we're go again for the next month.
Yep.
And then we're sitting there talking to you and we're like,
hey!
tomorrow. So like literally. We were in
That's
town
amazing.
yesterday. We got the car out of the booth, drove down to Hollywood because we're staying in Hollywood right now.
We're
nice.
We're going to Whiskey A Go tonight.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
And then so we had like a low-key dinner plan. He's like, we're going to sleep in. We've got this going on because we've got to be in LA for the
Super Motocross deal tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, the rad. That's going to be nice.
Yeah.
So then, but I'm laughing because he's like, yeah, let's do it tomorrow. And we're like, sweet. So we literally left the show yesterday.
My gosh.
Drive to
Come
Hollywood.
back here.
Drove to Hollywood and then drove
back.
back this morning, right, to see you guys. And then we're going to turn around and drive right back.
Let's be real. We all woke up this morning going, fuck.
Why did we
say this at 10 o'clock today?
Because I didn't want to sit in 5 o'clock traffic the whole way back. I'm sorry.
That would have sucked for
Why
sure.
did we say yes?
That
we
was
should just record
selfish.
this.
I'm glad you guys did that because that was.
It actually worked better for me.
sucked
too.
guys.
Ted actually
Sometimes
worked
it's
better.
better just to rip the Band-Aid off
And get it done.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Get it done. And you really enjoy it. I mean, it's so cool to see each other and
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like shit.
Well, it's like you and I, we've talked about doing a project together for I don't know
for
how long at
years,
this point. You know what I
man.
mean? So it's like
That dated back to the beginning when I was working with Gibson with Sean,
Yeah.
man. Back forever ago.
like it's one of those where it's like we just need to figure out and her and I got enough stuff going on here. Like
How many airport conversations have we had in passing?
That's how it goes. You always see each other at the airport, going to this project. It's funny because we saw at the airport going to Crandon, and I didn't see the rest of the weekend because we're so damn busy doing what we're doing. It's crazy.
Yeah.
There's events where he and I will show up and we both have our separate roles at the event. We don't see each other for 2 days.
Yeah.
And then we're like,
see you at night or something.
Yeah, see you at night.
Yeah.
See you at night.
It's literally that way, but
It's
That's
so funny.
wild. So, what are you looking forward to? You guys have a new sponsor that came on board, right?
Yeah, we made a big switch to Kawasaki this year. It's been phenomenal.
That's awesome.
It's been it's been amazing. They've treated us so well, and we've got a new KRX build that we're doing. Got a couple dirt bikes, jet skis in the garage now.
Dude,
Jet-
what a rad company to do because they have everything.
We're home, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
I was going to say,
because we
jet
already
skis, the
do
dirt bikes,
everything.
everything.
We already do it.
UTVs, everything.
And the pool, it's like, what do you guys want? What do you need? If so, let us know. And like just having that welcoming and everybody that works there are all enthusiasts. They've all been there for decades. And so they're like, yeah, we want to go camping with you and riding with you and come out and do this. So it's
Who would have
amazing.
thought stand-ups would come back with such a huge hit?
I never let them die.
My son has one, an old 80 or
her and I just
90.
bought an SXR 800 we found in Havasu. So
Sick.
we take our KRX. We've got a supercharger we're putting on our KX4.
Oh my gosh, as if it's not already fast enough, right?
Yeah, so we got a supercharger we're putting on it, and so I go to drop it off in Havasu because there's one place up there that's done the installs before. So they're like, take it there. Craftworks did, and so take it up to River Rat in Havasu and walk in, and I'm talking to the parts guy and this and that, and I was like, yeah, Britt and I are looking to buy an SXR 800. He goes, oh, have you seen the one we got up in the showroom? I'm like, no, and he's like, it's on consignment. He's like, it's like brand new. So I go up there. I'm like, oh, dude. And so I'm literally texting her because we're not together at the time. And I'm like texting her, and she's like, yep, we need to bring that home. Literally, I was like,
he goes, this is on the showroom floor.
Wow.
And do we? And I was like, I just need to know if we're doing it from the business or if we're splitting it. Let me know if I'm sending you cash right now or if we're just moving stuff around.
How are we running?
And he goes, I don't know. You tell me, because like I do all the accounting and the books and stuff. And so I'm like, well, if we do it this way, and like we're in between on race cars and stuff, I'm like,
We can make it work.
We could use an asset this year. I'm like, if you're okay with it, I'm okay with it.
You're like, yes.
So he literally put a deposit down right there on the spot.
Went to the bank, transferred some money, and next day I go and pick it up, and I was just like, oh, but no.
And this is the next 2 days on the river, going up and down, just playing.
We got Jet Ski World Finals this week, so it's already needed, you know.
Yep.
And we need something else to go with our Super Chicken. So
World Finals are already this weekend.
Yeah,
we just got a Super Chicken too, one of the old side-by-side
so much
two-seaters.
fun.
So we're doing a whole like resto on that, and it's
sick.
The problem is we support each other's habits.
Yeah.
So we're literally sitting there at the Rally on the Rocks, and they've got the reservoir there, and there's the Super Chicken that goes by on a trailer, and he and I both look at each other, and we're like, that's our next project. We need one now. And so within a week, we had one.
Now, is it one of those things where the idea of it is more fun than the reality of riding on it and having it?
Well, here's the idea, though, and here's why. It's not made to be fun. That's why it's like one of the most bastard skis that have ever existed. But that's why I like it, because we all know everybody that has these big baller boats.
Yeah.
You know, some say like Gibson on the side or whatever.
Yeah. Those guys.
We go to the channel, and the last time we went and met our friends at the channel, we spent 5 laps circling the island.
Didn't realize it was.
But we're
you were on it?
No, we were on the pontoon. We were trying
okay.
to park, and it was so busy, and it was a pain, and it's just the two of us. So I'm like, dude, we need the Super Chicken. Just so when we go to the channel, we can all we need is an ice chest rack on the back.
And
it's
pull
transportation.
Up wherever you want.
Yeah, and I'm like, and we could just wedge between our, so they can have the baller boats.
And
we got the Super Chicken. It's great.
So sick. Have you seen Mark Gomez's Super Chicken?
Yes.
He built it so sick.
Well, we're not going that far deep. We actually just we did a jet ski ride with Kawasaki with the Gomez's. They want to do like a couples ride, whatever thing. But we went out and got to know them. They're funny as hell.
They're the coolest people.
They're rad.
Man.
But I feel bad for him too, because he was training so hard for this, and he just blew his knee out. And I'm like, poor dude.
He's been having knees problems for a long time, and it finally got really bad.
But they were telling us how deep they went on their build, and I'm like, I'm not going to be $15,000 into a Super Chicken. Like,
15 grand.
Yeah, I think they're.
You can't call it a Super Chicken unless you got 15 grand into it.
No. That's what they do. I told him, I was like, I don't even want motor work. I'm like, I just want to make sure it runs, and we just stay upriver.
Exactly.
That way, if it dies, we can still get
Trying
it.
to make sure it can go upriver.
Yeah.
I know RJ's got one too. RJ's got Super Chicken. They've been messing around with out there.
We learned who had them, because all of a sudden everybody started coming out of the woodwork.
Dude, that is epic. Let me know when you guys do that. I want to go film it.
Yeah, no, literally it's planned. Gomez, RJ, us, and they've got a bunch of friends that have them. Guthrie's have one.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, so literally we want to do
we need a Gibson one now.
We want to do a Super Chicken ride to the sandbar in Havasu. Like
epic.
You just have all these. She has this thing where
it's going to be like the scooter club, right?
Yeah,
it's going to be the water
Like
scooter
the
club.
Vespas.
But all I want to do, I'm like, we can do a ride. Everybody else can plan everything. I'm like, I just want to go to a sandbar and put them all out there, and I want to do the video and just go look at all those chickens.
Okay, this could be one of those type 2 fun moments where during the moment you're like, this sucks. Why do we do this? And at the end you're like, awesome.
Oh yeah, they're
great
dogs.
time.
They're absolute dogs. They don't ride well. Like, but or the relay we were talking about, where we want to do a buoy race because the steering wheel slides.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is just do
Driver
some like
to
relay.
passenger.
Yeah, where every lap you got to swap it.
Yeah, go to Body Beach and literally hold an unofficial Super Chicken race. But you just got to slide the steering wheel back and forth every lap.
Fair. That's absolutely fair.
That would be pretty rad.
All right, you've got till next summer to get one, Sean.
We're both getting it now.
You and Amber, get on the hunt.
No. You guys need one together.
Chance has been trying to get me to get one for a while too. I'm like, no, bro, we don't need another toy.
No, we need Super Chicken.
Yeah.
So
they're cheap, man. You can find them.
We were leaving this morning, and he said something about what, the 210? What did you say?
What was it? The 210. Gosh, what you were like?
There's a point to this. It's worth it, I promise.
God, I'm trying to even think now because we had so many conversations in the car driving over. But 210. What was
we
it
talking about the freeway?
No, and that's the thing is he was saying, something about this or whatever, and I'm thinking like a model.
Oh, the 210 in the garage.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought you were talking about the freeway. The 210 freeway.
No, I know. And so he goes, hey, can you talk to so and so about the getting the 210 or fixing the 210? That's what he said, fixing the 210. So I go quiet for a minute because I'm like, we've got the 310 jet ski. We've got a 200 KTM. We've got a 112 Kawasaki. We've got a 125, a 250. I'm like, we've got 2 6.2s, and mine's a 6.2 with a 2.9. And I'm like going through all this stuff.
Trying to like, which toy is he talking about?
And he's like, finally I go, huh? The power. 210 electrical for welding.
I've got an extra TIG welder.
You said in garage, so I mean, you would think toy for sure.
I was like, I've got an extra TIG welder in Parker, so we're bringing the extra one up, and we got to wire the garage and cedar for it, so I can do projects.
But he said about the 210, and I'm like, wait.
Just like, I was like,
no. Think toy.
I'm like, what is the Super Chicken?
Like,
what number is it?
That's when you know you have too many toys. Yep, it's official.
She's like, do the crazy cards have 210?
That's great.
XXR 800.
God.
We do have a lot of toys. Like
that's awesome. So, anything new coming up? Anything you want everybody know? What we have to look forward to?
Got a couple TV projects for next year that can't announce yet, but we've been working with CBS Sports on some stuff. So
nice.
We'll have some fun TV projects for next year. We've got obviously our KRX4 build. It's literally a unicorn build. Those things are so new they're hard to buy, and when you can buy them, the parts are scarce. So her and I are going to roll one out that's long travel, supercharged.
Sick.
Like it's complete build, and it's going to be one of one in the world for at least a few months.
Wow.
So,
right.
Like literally, it's all basically pre-production or prototype to make it a full build because there's no other way to do it right now.
So we've been working with all our brand partners forever. It's like even working with Sean, like we're talking about getting the 2-seater up there to get Gibson to do an exhaust for, because the 2 and the 4-seat, at least it's the exact same exhaust.
Should fit same,
So, it's like
that's
that,
awesome.
But it's like we're working on getting all these things done, and it's like everybody wants to do it for the KRX. They just haven't had a chance yet. And it's like getting one, locating it. So,
that's exciting.
So we've got that build. We're excited. We just got our Bronco done. We got the Super Chicken build.
Super Chicken.
We're bringing the old Bronco out of retirement.
Yeah, we're going to start racing the vintage Bronco.
Nice.
No way.
That's gonna be dope.
Yeah.
What class?
In the vintage class.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's gonna be awesome.
Unlimited,
No
no
big deal. No big deal.
Sad thing is, certain races we get in our trophy truck and we probably get on the podium.
That's what I'm saying.
Like attrition, take this old '67 Bronco.
A 73, but just. I mean, I think the fastest we can go in the San Felipe Whoops was like 17 miles an hour last
17?
year.
Nice. And it's like,
yeah. We called it the Dongo because of jackass kicks.
The Dongo?
Hell yeah. Ding, 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 ding. I mean, those San Felipe Whoops are no joke, so.
It's we're pretty lucky. Like in a lot of our partners, it's like a lot of our stuff is shifted. Like next year, UTV, we need to build a new desert car. One we've got right now, which we won and took a ton of podiums last year. Got second in the championship. It's for sale, and we'll sell it here in the next month or so. But we're going to take a little bit of time off. It's almost $150,000 to build a proper UTV now.
Insane.
So it's like I don't want to make a $150,000 investment with the rules all up in the air because right now every sanctioning body has a different rule set.
Yeah.
So stuff's legal for one sanctioning body that's not. Well, nobody knows what to do with the Pro R. So
where are those going to be placed?
We need to build a new desert car, but we're going to take a few months off, and let next year.
With our own vehicle.
Yes.
We're not taking a few months off of racing. We just don't know what we're racing yet.
So we got some opportunities for some arrive and drive stuff and stuff like
exciting.
So
what do you think about the Pro R? Do you think it should be technically a Class 1 since it's now rated as a buggy and it's kind of in that same area?
That whole deal at Glamis is weird. Dude, that actually, I have no problem with the Pro R. Like Polaris did it. They raised the game. Good for them. I have no problem with the Pro R at all. I think they need to figure out what class it's going to race in.
I think a 10 would probably make sense.
Yeah, class 10.
But I think the deal at Glamis is stupid. Everybody should wear a helmet at Glamis, regardless of what you're in. I don't care. To me, that's just
Okay, but this is what I go back to. This is where everybody needs to remember. There's other things outside of Southern California. It cracks me up because there's been this loophole in this debate. There's 48 other states you can drive a UTV without a helmet.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares, but it's this specific instance because there's a loophole there. And like we were talking about, are you really, first off, safety?
Yeah.
But second off, are you really going to go get pulled over because the Rangers don't know? They just know it's a UTV.
No, because you're going to have a big Pro R sticker, the Pro R flag, and the helmet with the X through it on the side.
They're going to be really pushing it. I don't know, it's interesting. We'll see what happens this year. It's coming up quick, too. So,
and I guess it's weird because, Arizona and Utah and stuff like that, where we do a lot of our riding, it's no helmet laws or whatever. You know? So it's we got full cage, all the harnesses. And I guess I wear my helmet depending on what we're doing. If we're just going to go on a light ride or something like that.
Yeah, I get that.
We've got a windshield in our stuff. And it's buckle up. But it's I don't wear a helmet. But it's if I'm doing something where I'm going –
it's a little sketchy.
sketchy, or it's going to be, heavy duty this or that.
Quicker rides.
It's immediately like, all right, helmet needs to go on.
But when we're putting around the camp at like KOH though, it's frustrating to have to go from here to here.
I know.
So I mean,
we want to drive from
100%.
one campsite to the other campsite, and you got to put a helmet on. It's got to the point where her and I don't even take the UTV to Glam or to KOH. We'd rather take the Bronco or the Raptor.
Yeah, because you don't have to wear the helmet on it.
Well, and it's important though, if you're wearing the helmets, that you need to wear a neck device of some sort of restraint, because I mean, you hit a hard hit. I mean, you're gonna jack your neck up permanently from a small hit. It might save you in a gnarly, when the cage is crushing down on your head. But I always, like my son, whenever he wears his helmet and any of his cars are out in the desert, I go, you put your neck restraint on. Like, you have to, because that shit will jack you up.
Yeah.
But, well, awesome, guys. Any questions for us, or?
No, I mean.
Well, we have time. That's just part 2. Otherwise, we'll be here all day, right?
No, that's legitimately.
We'll get you guys on our show for the other.
I think that's what we need to do. Is like, because we talked about it in our group text. I'm stoked we're on this show. We got to get you guys on ours too. Just like, because we've got a ton of questions. Like, that'd be rad. I mean, opened up, and I wanted to know how this actually happened, so we learned that. But
we were at a bar. He bought me a drink, and I thought he was cute.
I mean, between your career and his career in Gibson, I'm like, we've got a ton to talk about.
Oh,
so
dude, there's so much more, man. It's nonstop.
Yeah, we still learn something new about each other every day.
Yeah,
every podcast, like, oh, really? You did that?
Wow.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So you are cool.
Man. Well, this has been fun, man. Had a great time.
Are we going to see you at SEMA?
We will definitely be at SEMA. We don't know how long. I mean, I think we're talking about literally going for Off-Road Hall of Fame, staying the first day, going back to Cedar for a few days, and then coming back for the Huevos reunion.
Rad. Nice.
I don't know if you guys have been like watching what they've got going on.
I have.
Huevos reunion. So Huevos, the video series.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Wes Miller, he's bringing everybody back together. So they've got a $10,000 event they're doing on Friday night for quads. When was the last time $10,000 was put up for quads for anything? So they got all these guys coming out of the woodwork, and they're building a hybrid race freestyle track where it's got like these massive hits.
In Vegas?
Yeah, well, it's out in Prim.
Cool.
So it's Friday night. I think tickets are for sale now, but we're going to go out for that. And then they've got Saturday night on Fremont. They've got Non-Point. They've got some awesome bands.
Nice.
And they're having like a full reunion party with
rad.
all the old quad guys and the original FMX it's going to be rad.
I really hope they're airing all the DVDs or all the movies.
Yeah, so he's literally they're working on it behind the scenes.
Because Works is doing that. They're throwing an event, I think, at Prim that same weekend, right?
Yeah, so Wes's event is piggybacking that. So they're using Works to help do the track build.
Nice.
But it's going to be a little bit different. They literally, it's like we can't have a Huevos thing and not have big, huge
They had
hits.
that stuff.
Yeah, so they're doing, it's going to be, they've got the Huevos track and then they've got the Works track.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So,
sick, man.
But yeah, that's going to be Friday night. And then Saturday they're doing the whole reunion on Fremont, and I don't know. I think they're going to air videos. They got concerts,
rad.
But they are working on like a behind the scenes. They've got all this footage, and part of the reason for this reunion, Wes was telling us, we had lunch with them, was they wanted to be able to interview all the OGs and sit them down for interviews. So they're literally going to launch like a final Huevos, like a behind the scenes, the whole video series.
Wow.
So they're working on that project. So
like a closure.
Yeah,
closing it out.
Well, it's like how they do the 4.5 or 3.5 or whatever, and they go back and they're like, okay, so this scene, but like, here's all the stuff nobody didn't know or how it's been since or whatever. So it's going to be so cool.
What a rad deal.
So we're definitely going to go out for that. I'm like, that just seems like a hell of fun time.
So I literally just got goosebumps talking about it.
Well, it's funny though, because like we all grew up, and I was like, I laugh because like when when Krusty's, Terra Firma, there was all those videos, Huevos, and what are they talking about, 50 Nuts, but it was like when that stuff came out, like you could only get them in dirt bike shops and things like that. So it was literally everybody was like going to the dirt bike shop, and we'd all have videos like, all right, you buy Terra Firma, you buy Krusty's, and we'll swap.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about this a couple times on the podcast. Like, I had that video stack. You know how you put the DVDs in the little trays, I had the coolest tray of every DVD, like Relish and 50 Nuts and, dude, just everything. I was like, it was the coolest thing. I was like, I look forward to that.
My son, like, every time when he was born, I mean, from the time to his age now, he's 16, everything in the car when we were driving, going to the river or anything was just one of those videos. Whether it would be Huevos, Krusty, and preferably the ones without, the boobies and stuff in them. Like
and the boobies, because, I mean, my dad didn't care. So I was, But that was literally me, too. I laughed because I still have all those DVDs.
So sick, though.
And it cracks me up because, like, I found them the other day when I was moving stuff around, and I'm going through it. And I'm like, these are the most epic things, but it would be funny when I was getting older and like I'd go to, we need to watch a DVD. And I'd go through it. I'm like, nobody's going to. I like all this stuff, but like we'd have friends over hanging out. And I'm like, I can't put any of these.
No, and it was the only way you could enjoy it by not actually being there, living it.
Absolutely.
There was no other way.
Always bring you back to being there. That's what I always get that feeling again.
I interviewed 3 or 4 years ago Seth Enslow. I had
no way. That'd be so rad.
But he's still around. He does a bunch of tattooing and stuff like that. And so I still need to go and get a tattoo from Seth just for the novelty of it.
Just to do it?
But I was talking to him, and like he rides a little bit. It's more like Harleys and stuff like that now. But he still once a year over the summer he'll go to Australia because like Australia's its own little bubble.
It's its own world, man.
But he's still like a massive celebrity down here.
I believe it.
Like people like us remember Seth, and it's like, oh, cool, But he walks in somewhere. If you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
In Australia, he is still literally like Hollywood celebrity type guy, and so he goes to Australia once a month and does literally a month full of appearances. And he goes, I make so much money still in Australia signing Krusty's copies and stuff like that.
Sick.
He goes, literally, he goes, it affords my mortgage for the entire year.
Oh,
so it's just
rad.
crazy. So like, Enslow's still around and stuff like that. But I think guys like that, it's a name you like. Everybody remembers, nobody thinks about now, but you mentioned Seth Enslow. Everyone's like, that guy was crazy.
He was the first. Like, I mean, when he ate his handlebars with his face, dude, after doing the big jump in the dunes.
Cool.
Like,
that's a guy like if you guys ever get a chance to interview him on this show, like he's an amazing interview, like telling all the old stories and stuff. Like, dude, Enslow's awesome.
That is such a rad deal.
Well, speaking of, actually, I did have a question because we've been getting this from everybody now. Give us a behind-the-scenes story, a wild story, something over the past decade or two that nobody's heard yet.
Shit.
Because we've all been around some shenanigans.
Wow.
I'm trying to think. I wish.
All right, you guys think about it.
I will
you guys
tell
think
you
about
on
it and have it ready.
Yeah,
wow. Yeah. I mean, a lot of them, are tied around SEMA. There's some wild nights there.
Always.
All the old parties, everything,
Yeah.
The hard rock days.
All right, well, do top 3 then. Think about your 3.
I will say we got to have a follow-up. So Britt and I, in June, we've started renting Ginger and Lenny's Airbnb a lot and going and kind of hanging out there. So one night we sat from midnight until 2:30 in the morning with Ginger and Lenny. The 4 of us mic'd up and did a podcast on their deck on a Saturday night in Havasu.
Oh my God.
And we started where we were all pretty tuned up to we were very tuned up at the end.
Oh yeah.
But I'm like, no, literally round 2 of that, we need Sean Gibson sitting there with all of us. And like,
I might walk in at any moment at that time at Ginger and Lenny's patio and be like, and have mics on, and be like, I've got to go. This is not the right time to put these things on. A few beers got me pretty loud and wild at the Sand Show.
You were a little wild. Yeah, I did.
No, that was it. Literally,
that's always our loosest show every year.
That was funny. We do that, and it was like, yeah, we'll air this next week. It literally took us 6 weeks to edit that show.
Oh my God! Can I take that out?
It was and Ginger and Lenny are amazing friends of ours. It's like so. Some of the stuff, it was like, well, even on our end, like, it was just one of those where, like, you want it to be presented in the right way.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're the nicest people you could ever meet.
Well, and
the most genuine. They're just rad, solid people. And they like to have fun, too, with everyone around them. And
that's cool.
They're just badass people, and you don't want anything to come across like not showcasing them as badass, genuine people.
Well, that's
really
what we were highlighting, right? Because everyone knows them as River Smoke Show.
Yeah.
And I've known Ginger and Lenny, and I introduced them to Jim because I'm like, no, these people are amazing business philanthropists.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much more depth, and they just don't go out of their way to like tell people who they are. They just don't care one way or another.
Yeah.
And so that was actually what most of our show was of like, here's what you guys have done, in New Orleans and done this and that, and how you guys actually met and how long you've been together and stuff. Like it was just
towards the end it got to be a little bit of shenanigans, and that's when we started trimming. We're like, none of this ever needs to really hit the air.
But like the fun fact, or one of the funniest moments was like realizing that Lenny's old companies, he had a tech company that he sold, designed and programmed the programs that run our CNC benders at our shop.
Really?
Cool.
Yeah.
That's full circle.
That's full circle. Damn, Lenny, that's crazy. That would have been one of those late night stories you picked up.
I had no idea about too.
No idea. Like you're like, hey, what do you do? Oh, I do this, that. Oh, and it just
I found out how they met, like on that, because I known him forever.
Yeah,
but I'm like, so how did you
guys
actually
meet?
Yeah.
What a crazy deal. What a crazy deal. Well, it's been fun, man. Thank you guys for coming on.
All right, thank you guys.
Awesome. Have a safe trip home. Yeah. Enjoy any time you can find in the future to relax.
Enjoy Hollywood.
Enjoy Hollywood.
What is time and what is relaxing? We don't know either of those.
Can't quite figure it out yet.
We do it to ourselves, so it's fine.
Yeah, I guess this is probably relaxing for us, right?
It's legitimate.
Honestly, you're not on the heat. You're not on the sun. It's nice and chilling.
We all had a shower last night.
Well, maybe all. I don't know.
Maybe Sean. Guys, don't forget to follow them. I'll put all their handles down below in the description. So it's been fun. Thanks, guys.
All right,
thanks, guys.
Woo! Whoa! Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces.